the White House. Kentucky Senator Rand Paul is trying to break into the top tier of Republican primary candidates. A new CNN poll out of New Hampshire shows the senator with some uptick in support. A lot of people wondering, is time running out, though, for some of these candidates who might be in single digits right now? Well, Republican presidential candidate Senator Rand Paul, is joining us now. Thank you so much. I wanted to say first to everybody that always asks me, we are not related. I get that question often, but thank you so much, Senator, for being with us. We appreciate it. I wanted to ask you real quickly before we get into the politics of things. We were looking at Kentucky yesterday, and that was a big story. There was a 35-mile stretch of cars, buses, and trucks at a standstill, and they were stuck there for some of them more than 20 hours. And we talked to somebody from the state police there who said this is a problematic area. It's mountainous, it gets icy, and just kind of wondering, how does a 35-mile backup like that happen if you know that this is a problematic region?
Well, you know, we've had trouble when big snows come to Kentucky. Just last year, you know, I have a son at the University of Kentucky that's pretty close to there. And last year, my wife was taking my son to school, and the same thing happened, and they were on the road for 10 hours. So some of it is we need to expand our roads. You know, our highway trust fund is about $15 billion short in the United States. I've been working to try to bring American profit home and allow some of that to go into infrastructure. But I've met against a wall in Washington where, you know, it's hard to get anything done because they say, oh, we want to do just overall tax reform. But I have a plan that actually would bring American profit back home, tax it a small amount, and then put it into roads so we could try to avoid problems like this.
All righty. Well, we certainly wish everybody well there. I know there's a lot of recovery to be done in the next couple of days with all the snow that fell and the ice. But let's talk some politics here, because let's talk first about this news that former Mayor Michael Bloomberg may be revisiting a possible run for the presidency. If he gets into the race, who do you think it's going to affect more, Democrats or Republicans?
You know, I think it may affect both, but I think it's showing some of the weakness of some of the front runners, and it may be good for some of the candidacies like myself. You know, I think Bloomberg sees Clinton on one side and the possible criminal charges. On the other side, he sees a bombastic Trump that alienates large segments of the population, Hispanics, women, etc. So I think really it also has an opportunity for some of us who are underdogs. And one of the interesting things is we think the polls are wildly inaccurate. In Kentucky, you know, in the governor's race, they were off 13 points in a two-way race. So we think in a 10-way race, there's a great chance that the polls are underestimating, particularly our candidacy, because we have a lot of young voters. Because I'm opposed to the government collecting all your phone records and doing this mass surveillance a lot of young people agree with me on that, and we think we're going to do very well with the college student and young 20s and 30s age group voters.
Well, and the polls are significant here, too, because a lot of times up to this point, they've been helping decide who makes the stage in some of these debates. You know, Fox News debate Thursday, I know you had to sit that one out. If you make the stage this next time around, what are you going to do to be more distinctive, do you think, to really be able to get out there?
Well, you know, I think I do have a unique message. I'm the one saying I don't want the sand to glow in the Middle East. I want to protect America. I want to protect us from ISIS. But I also don't want to send 500,000 troops back into the Middle East. I think that when we've toppled secular regimes or secular dictators over there, we've gotten more chaos and we've gotten more of the rise of radical Islam. You know, I'm also the one candidate saying I don't want the government to collect all your phone records. I think I'm also the only fiscal conservative on the stage because I'm willing to say that you have to hold the line on all spending. Almost everyone else on the stage wants to dramatically increase military spending, but that's equally as bad as increasing domestic welfare spending, because the two together are what are causing us to have such an enormous national debt that I think the number one threat to our national security now is actually our debt, and I'm actually the only one I think who would actually hold the line.
All right, and hopefully you will make that stage, and we can hear more about that, obviously. But speaking of being distinctive, and let's look at this again, what Donald Trump said yesterday that has a lot of people talking today.
Well, my people are so smart. And you know what else they say about my people? The polls. They say, I have the most loyal people. Did you ever see that? Where I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody, and I wouldn't lose any voters, okay? It's like incredible.
All right, I just want to get your reaction to that.
Where to
Besides
start?
the chuckle, I know.
Yeah, where to start? No, I think sometimes narcissists have delusions, and I think he's almost to the point of being delusional about his own power. But what I worry about that is there is a distinct American tradition that I represent that says too much power gravitating into the hands of anyone is a mistake, Republican or Democrat. So we believe in a presidency limited by the Constitution. I think that Donald Trump believes in no limits to power as long as it's coming to him. That's very, very worrisome to us. And I think conservatives across the country should be alarmed at his candidacy because I don't think he's a real conservative. I think he's pulling the wool over our eyes, and I think we'll be very sorry that he'll be the consummate deal maker, and he'll be worse than anything we've got in Washington. You just wait.
The one thing that he does say that is true up to this point that we see is he is leading in the polls. He is pulling people in.
Let's see how the polling actually goes when we actually have real voters. We think the polls are wildly inaccurate, and we'll see what happens when people actually show up to vote.
All righty. Well, thank you so much,
Thanks.
Senator Rand Paul, for taking some time for us this morning. Good to have you here.